What's up, guys? It's your boy Josh Showtime along with my man's 100 grand, Josh Valles, and this is Showtime's Fight Phone. We talk all things fight. All right. So we have been gone for a little bit, not too long, but a little bit. It's been on me. I've been busy. I also went on a brocation, which was amazing. Kind of lost my voice a little bit, but we're gonna fight through it. And we got some stuff to talk about. All right, Josh, how you feeling first and foremost?
I'm feeling great. Good to have you back. Saw the photos from your brocation. It looks like a great time. So a lot has gone on since you've had your vacay. So excited to be on the show today, talk boxing and get caught up.
So, first and foremost, man, make sure y'all follow us on social media. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and all that stuff. The link is right below, and also the username. Josh been going in on some folks too. Hey, look, I've been appreciating. You've been doing some heavy digging, and I've been peeping it. All right, look, that's what we do.
Hey, listen, my Twitter fingers ready on the trigger, ready to go. A lot of good, like I said, boxing topics right now that um, require a lot of engagement, right? So having a great time speaking about that with a lot of good followers of ours, different
Glad
people.
you brought that up because that's exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about social media. We're talking about Twitter fingers. And to talk about that, we got to bring up the guy who's been doing the most tweeting, and that is SHAKUR Stevenson. SHAKUR is going to be the topic for today. We haven't dived in. We're not going to talk too much about the fight per se, because realistically, the bigger topic and the thing we're talking about the most is the after the fight, more so than we are the fight. And it was a very solid showing. But first, I want to hear, what did you think about the SHAKUR Stevenson fight? And then we'll talk about right after the aftermath of it. And what do you take as far as the feedback he's been getting or the critiques he's been getting?
Sure. So the fight in itself was a masterclass by SHAKUR Stevenson. They were asking for him to stay in the pocket. Well, he did that. They were asking him to show some power, show some speed. He did that. He dominated a fighter in Artem that, again, was a bronze medalist in the Olympics. So he has a great amateur pedigree. He's fought big name fighters like Frank Martin, who we just saw fight Tank not too long ago, less than a month. So he's definitely impressed. He definitely had an impressive performance. I think it was overshadowed by, to your latter question, what was going on social media. But if we were to talk about the fight in itself, SHAKUR absolutely dominated the fight. He from start to finish, it was an absolute shutout. I think, once again showed why he is the most feared and most avoided boxer in all of boxing, because you don't win what you can't hit. And you can't hit SHAKUR Stevenson right now. His defense is too elite. His offense and counterattacks are also just too elite for all of the opposition right now that is in the 135 division. So I think personally it was brilliant. It was a great performance by SHAKUR. And I'm not the only one who thought that, because we saw 1.5 million people tune into it, ESPN viewership wise. So excited to see him getting the respect he deserves from the world. I thought, again, brilliant performance by SHAKUR Stevenson.
So I partly agree, partly disagree with what you're saying. One, it was an absolute shutout. There's no way you can't not say that. He dominated the fight. He made it look easy. I mean, that's something that we have to acknowledge. And that's not, and as far as the level of competition, yes, he had a great amateur background, so we cannot ignore that. The Frank Martin, we still don't know how good Frank Martin is. Once again, it's the same questions that we had with a few of Tank opponents. And also, you have to remember, Frank was supposed to fight SHAKUR. That was supposed to be a SHAKUR fight. All right, so it was not necessarily supposed to be him, but he said, "Hey, I want more money," and then I went to a bigger fight, which was Tank. And I mean, at the end of the day, they had fought a fight. It was really close. That Frank Martin had to dig in order to even win that fight. So we have to put respect on that. But yet and still, man, SHAKUR is a dog, man. SHAKUR is avoided for a reason. And like you said, he is avoided. I don't know if I would use the word fear. So I don't know how you can fear a person that you aren't really worried about hurting you. but you can, I guess, be fearful of a person like embarrassing you or making you miss. So I guess maybe that could cause some fear. But I think it's more so avoiding. And I don't necessarily think it's a fear related thing. It's just the matchup thing. And that's something we can talk about in a little bit. But the fight itself, solid performance. Did we answer any questions? No. Is there still, was it the most fun fight? No. Is it all Shakur's fault? No, it's not all his fault. Is it partly his? You can put a little on him. Some of it is something he can't control, and I think that is he just isn't blessed with that God-given ability to shut people's lights out. And I mean, it's not part of his style. I think he could add more power in his shots, but it would leave him more vulnerable to get punched, which is not what he wants to do. But yet, and still, like, I think that it was solid overall. I wasn't overly impressed, but I also wasn't under impressed. I didn't think it was bad. I wouldn't have walked out in the 12th round like everybody else did, or 11th round. But at the same time, I get it.
Paid actors to be walked out by Bobby.
Paid actors, you believe that?
100%.
100% believe that.
If 50 Cent bought 3 rows to Ja Rule's concert, I can believe Bob Arum will buy fights to his own fighters' fights.
But why would he do
or tickets
that,
to his own fighters'
why
fights.
do that?
Why do that? Because Shakur Stevenson was going to leave Top Rank. And I think Bob Arum knew out of everybody that Top Rank was not, in high standing with Shakur Stevenson. So they knew that he was going to be on his way out. And he was also going to talk about it.
But here's the thing, though. But why would they even do that to begin with, though? Why are they worried about I guess my big question is more so, why would they self-sabotage him regardless? If there's a reason why.
Because they know he's not going to resign.
Why?
So they know.
You're saying he's not going to resign, which is fine. He's not. But at the same time, there's a reason why that the offer was as low or not to Shakur's liking to begin with. And that is because they don't think they can make money with him. Like, yes, you can say you can come up with the logic of saying like they pay. Let's buy off the thing that Bob Arum paid them off, which I mean I don't believe, but it's not out the realm of reality. It's very possible that happens. I'm not going to disrespect. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it's impossible. This, that, and the third. We've seen crazier stuff happen in this world. Okay. But I just don't buy it just because I think that they threw him an offer, which I thought was a solid offer, but he was like, that's a low ball offer. But at the same time, Top Rank is not going to pay you big dollars, and they still can't even do pay-per-view fights with you. Simple and plain, they can't do pay-per-view fights with you. And I mean, at that point, brother, like, what do you want us to do? You're 27 now. You need to be a pay-per-view attraction. You should be doing pay-per-views now. Tank is doing pay-per-views. You're doing pay-per-views for a few years now. Canelo's doing pay-per-views. You're not seeing these guys. Jake Paul is freaking doing pay-per-views. You should be doing pay-per-views for as skilled and as good as you are, but he doesn't, and he can't. Why? Is because unfortunately, people don't care to see Shakur fight.
People may not care to see Shakur fight. However, to Shakur's point, it's Bob Arum's job to get these fights for him. That's his job as the promoter to say, Oscar De La Hoya, Eddie Hearn, what do we have to do so that we can get this fight squared away? Devin Haney and Shakur, the 25%, if we're being honest, that's about the only time we've really seen a legitimate number thrown at Shakur in the middle of a fight that didn't happen. Maybe some rumblings with the Frank Martin fight because he did turn down that fight to fight Tank. But I think personally, I mean, it's Bob Arum's job to get these fights done. When Mayweather wanted to fight Ricky Hatton, if you remember, he said to Leonard Ellaby, make the fight happen. Why did he say that to Leonard Ellaby? Because that's Leonard Ellaby's job, to make fights happen. And Floyd really wanted the fight with Ricky Hatton. So what I'm saying is, I think we can all agree that Shakur has called out a lot of big names.
Absolutely.
And it's not his fault that Oscar Zepeda was the only real name that has been like the one that, shockingly enough, is still getting super big praise, even though he got cooked by Shakur. But we have Shakur Stevenson calling out big names, and he's not getting those fights. So you can only really point to one person, and that's Bob Arum, who is notorious for being in big spats with his fighters towards the time that it's going to renew. We know that Shakur has been calling out big name after big name after big name. So we can say whatever we want about the Twitterson part of things, and that's true. But what we can also say is, come on, he's been even calling out guys like George Kambosos. If Bob Arum can't make a fight with George Kambosos happen, and they both on the same stable, then unfortunately there's something going on there, and you have to understand Shakur's frustration at the end of it.
I understand Shakur being frustrated in general. Like, I don't fault him for being upset, frustrated, and all this other stuff. Even though part of it is still his fault. Like, it's not all his fault. It's probably not even mostly his fault. But he does share some of the blame because at the end of the day, like, people don't care to fight him and people don't care to see him because of him and how he fights. He calls out everybody. I know he's not scared. I know he wants to challenge himself. He genuinely thinks he's the best. But what has Tank said? What has Teo said? These guys have literally came out and been like, I don't care to fight him. Granted, Tank is now saying he's willing to fight him. But years ago, he was like, I don't care to fight this dude. Why? Why would I fight him? He's boring. He doesn't come to fight. And the people are going to believe that. And then after the Edwin fight, they really don't think he's going to fight because they're going to say he's going to run. If I have power, he's going to be scared. He back then, he fought a guy who really, he said he could crack, but there's a different level between his power and then you have like a Tank's power and things like that. Or even Edwin's power. I would say he cracks harder than he do. If you have these two compared, he's fighting a guy who doesn't have that kind of power, so he can stand in front of him. He doesn't have to use his legs as much. He can walk him down. And even still, the fans didn't get what they want. You talk so much throughout the entire build-up. This fight will be different. Yeah, I'm 10 toes down. Oh, I'm going to get this finish. I'm going to get this stoppage. What happened when y'all fought? It wasn't. Like, he was walking through his punches like they were pillows. Like, realistically, he did. He got hurt maybe one time, maybe to the body. He was like, oh, I'm a little stabbed. But outside of that, it's more so just walking through the punches, and you can't hurt me. And that is a problem. Like, it is a major, major problem. And I said this before. I said this years ago, where I said Tank biggest issue and why he won't be a superstar is because he doesn't have power. And he's unfortunately not the type of guy, even now, that's aggressive enough to get the stoppage just by volume of punches because he doesn't leave himself that open. Floyd has never been a straight power puncher. He's never been the guy that's straight one punch, KO, sleep. That's not really his style. He was more so, I'm going to pummel you so many times that you're either going to fall and not get up or the referee's going to stop you. But he was so offensive, so aggressive, punched you so many times that eventually you will get to stop. And it's still fun to watch. Who don't want to see a man get punched 30 times in a round and you barely been touched? Like, we want to see that. That's not how Shakur fight even now. So that bothers people. And it bothers even me. I don't care to watch Shakur. I don't look forward to watching it. I do like to watch a Mastercap, but it's not like I'm like, oh man, Shakur's up. Let me put this on my calendar.
That's cap. That's cap.
It's not.
You're lying to yourself if you're saying to yourself that you didn't have July 6th marked on your calendar because of Shakur's fight.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I forgot he was even fighting that week.
No way.
I'm being serious. I forgot. I knew he was fighting.
Keyshawn Davis, Oceanique Foster, and Shakur Stevenson on 3 of the top boxers on one card, and you didn't have that. You didn't think about that. Cat.
You're saying boxers, sure, but we're talking about entertainment. At the end of the day, boxing is entertaining. Is it easy for me? Like, brother, I love UFC. I love MMA. But you're going to sit here and tell me that I'm always going to know when some of the most boring fighters or some of the boring fighters or the least active fighters are fighting? Am I always going to remember oh, yeah, they are fighting this week? Yeah, sometimes that happens. Yeah, I'm not going to always remember. And also, it's not like he was fighting somebody I genuinely cared about him fighting. Like, it's not just the Shakur thing, but also who he's fighting. And that's not his fault. I'm not saying it's his fault. It's Top Rank's fault when it comes to that. But at the same time, I'm just being real. It was a fight that I didn't care to see. And when I saw it, it wasn't a bad performance. It just wasn't an entertaining one. And he wants to get mad at people, but everyone is saying it. Even boxers. People want to say, oh, well, you guys put on gloves. Boxers are also saying that. There's so many boxers who also are saying it's boring. So I hate when like other professional boxers, like Terrence Crawford and everybody want to sit here and say, well, it's hit, not get hit. First of all, that's not a definition. That's a form of boxing. It's a style of boxing. Just like brawling is a style of boxing. And there's stuff that is appealing to the eyes, and there's stuff that's not appealing to the eyes. And unfortunately, Shakur falls into the non-appealing of the eyes. And if you want to sell, you want to make money, you want to be this, you want to be a Floyd, you want to make Floyd money, you got to be more entertaining. Whether it is through Twitter or on the actual mat and actually fighting.
Yeah, and I agree to that extent, for sure. However, I'm also looking at it as everybody has their own entertainment factor.
Yeah.
Nobody didn't tune in to the NBA Finals when the Spurs were playing. Shakur Stevenson is the San Antonio Spurs of boxing.
Excellent reference, by the way.
Thank you. And that is just what it is at the end of the day. He is just an excellent boxer who, yeah, you may say to yourself it's not the flashiest, but it's also one of those, it can be the flashiest if you're actually just like fully focused watching it. Just like the Spurs. As I've gotten older, when I look back on the Spurs, I see them in a different light now than when I did when they had their dynasty run. At that time, their dynasty run felt like dinosaurs, like just boring basketball that I didn't care to watch. And for Shakur, I feel like that is the problem that he's going through now. He is a San Antonio Spur winning championships in multiple weight classes, doing things that other boxers who claim to be better than him aren't doing, like the William Zepedas of the world. This guy has no world championships, and yet people are trying to say that he is better than a multi-winning world champion Shakur Stevenson, also with a silver Olympic medal on his wall. So with all that being said, I feel like Shakur does have that wow factor, but it's going to take a dance partner like a Tank Davis, like a William Zepeda, even a George Kambosos to really have people tune into Shakur and remind themselves, which is another thing. Everyone's acting like Shakur has been boring his entire career. It's really just been like these last like 3 or 4 fights that like have progressively been kind of like, but what? But really he was like cooking like his opponents up until this point.
Lower weight class. Now he's in a new weight class. He's had nothing but stinkers since.
Which is what I'm saying. I understand that aspect, but he's also still winning, and the fights aren't like boring in the sense of like, oh, he's not showing anything in 135. He's barely winning. I mean, he kicked Artem's tail this last fight. I mean, he beat him to a pulp. Whatever you want to say, he didn't knock him down. He didn't stop him, this, that, and the third. He beat the crap out of that man. And so look at his face after the fight. And I'm talking about Artem's face. So with that being said, you know, he is still an exciting fighter. I do understand why some of these fights have been called what they have been. I do understand. But it also is probably going to take another fighter who's very explosive to bring that out of Shakur, or at least combat what Shakur brings, which is neutralizing everything, as opposed to an action fighter like Tank Davis, who is as we know, action. So I think overall, I get what you're saying, but I think that Shakur is a pay per view star. I think he has all the tools necessary. He just needs a dance partner to bring that out of him. Similar to the Andre Wards of the world, similar to the old school Floyds.
But
If
Andre
we
was
really think
never a
about it,
star.
if, if we think about Money Mayweather, I mean, those fights were boring. Granted, we understand why, because he had his reign as Pretty Boy, which allowed him to be that. But what I'm saying at the end of the day, those Money Mayweather fights, even though they were boring for the most part, what made it interesting afterwards? Who was he fighting against on the other side of that, of the ring? And those is what was driving the ticket sales just as much as Floyd's, banter outside the ring and his persona. But that is Shakur's thing now, as opposed to a guy like Tank, who he just needs to be Tank.
Yeah. I always push back when people say Money May was boring, just because I say, well, give me all the boring fights when he was Money May. Like the Pacquiao fight, sure, that fight was not fun. You want to call that cool? What is it? The Robert Garcia, maybe you want to call that boring?
Robert Guerrero fight was
I mean, I say
relatively
Garcia,
boring.
Robert Guerrero. That fight, yeah, okay, you could probably say that was a little boring.
After the second or third round, the Mosley fight was boring.
Oh, I disagree. That fight was I can't subscribe to that just because he got Mosley was getting tuned up the entire fight after that third round. He was getting beat the hell up to the point that his corner was about to stop the fight. Like I can't give you that one. That one wasn't boring in my opinion. There was a lot at stake, a lot happening. That one was fun. Okay, Barrera. I said Berto. I said Barrera. Berto, that was boring, but that was also his last fight. He literally coasted, so I will give you that. That was boring, but I mean, you look at his other fights. I mean, they weren't boring, in my opinion. Like if you look at the Cotto fight, that fight was.
That was not a boring fight.
You said what?
That wasn't a boring fight.
Oh,
No.
I thought you said it was. I'm about to say, oh, you're crazy.
Yeah, as I was thinking about the Money Mayweather fights, I was thinking like, well, technically Cotto was a Money Mayweather fight, and that wasn't a boring fight. But I think overall, we were just accustomed to a certain.
I get that that's the whole thing. He was more defensive, so it wasn't as fun as when he fought like Emmanuel Augustus or when he fought Arturo Gatti, and then like the not Canelo's, but the Corrales. Even were you bored from the Canelo money fight? I sure as hell wasn't. That was a masterclass, and he literally was just piecing them up the entire fight. But getting still back to Shakur though. We agree somewhat, but then we somewhat disagree. I definitely don't see in the future him being a pay-per-view attraction just because, like, whether whether Top Rank did that on purpose or not, I do think that that's a lasting effect that will be on people's ears and eyes, knowing that people did that, and then also 2 stinkers in a row. He's gonna have to do a lot of heavy work going forward. He needs a big fight for people to care and also to get people back on his side. But I can tell you what won't get people back on his side: him and social media. I'm cool with giving people what they're giving back, but it eventually needs to stop and it eventually needs to chill and also learn who to attack. There's certain people who I'm fine with you going smack at where it's like, brother, they're disrespecting you. Go ahead and disrespect them back. Fine. But this man is attacking every person who is literally just giving their opinion and their criticism about his performance to the point where he's not accepting that people don't like the way he fights. And that should be accepted. Brother, if you can't sit here and complain and get at people because they don't like your fights, brother, you're fighting. You have every control on it. If you want to sit here and get these dudes out the way, sit down on your punches. You can put more power in your punches if you wanted to. You don't want to. And if that's the choice that you made, which is a smart choice, accept the consequences with it, which is people won't be entertained. Like, we don't need to get knockdowns. We don't need knockouts for an entertaining fight. However, we do want people hurt. We do want to see some damage done. You sat in the pocket, sure. But like Roy Jones said, you tend to get out the pocket a little too much where you can't counter like you really want to counter, and you won't land anything significant enough to possibly get a finish. So guess what? The crowd goes asleep. The crowd will boo. That's what's gonna happen, brother. So like, you want to get mad at somebody, get mad at yourself. I'm just sick of the Twitter fingers and always going smack at folks that really don't even hate you. That's not saying hater stuff like some of these fans are, and you still saying, yeah, you a pussy. Yeah, get these gloves on, brother. Like, you're not gonna gain no fans this way.
Yeah, I understand. I think he's just been sick of it. It has been a lot of banter in his mentions
Yes.
about his performance. So I think seeing that every day and then finally winning a fight where I agree, and he has been saying himself, he stood there in the pocket, exchanged, won outright, did not get Artem out of there, but did give himself an opportunity to do so. I think that he needs a little bit of this as well. And I say that because in some aspect, I think that Top Rank held him back from saying certain things that he wished he could say. And he hasn't been able to say it because he's been under Top Rank. Well, he's not with Top Rank anymore. So I think right now he's just kind of letting loose on some things he may have not always wanted to say, but definitely something that he's more like, oh yeah, that's how you feel? Okay, great. I can say this now without Top Rank texting me and their representative saying, you can't say that. Please delete that tweet.
And it's just so
So,
stupid, man. It's so dumb. Just somebody need to be on his camp to tell him, brother, chill. Like, get a burner if you need to. Like, LeBron has been getting slandered by Skip Bayless for 30 years, brother, and he has not uttered a word of Skip Bayless. Like, and I'm not saying everybody needs to be LeBron, because that's I once again, I'm cool with being petty, but it has to end eventually. It's been a week, over a week, and you're still talking trash to people. Move on. Live
well,
your life.
now new fighters are, coming out of the woodwork, and he's challenging them. Like I said, Shakur is a one man show right now. It is him versus everybody. So
He's basically the sober Ryan Garcia right now.
yeah, he really is. So for him, I just feel like he is. Sorry, that was a really good one, actually.
And they're
So
arguing
yeah,
right now.
huh?
And they're arguing right now.
And
Like,
they're arguing right now. So yeah, I think overall he's just going through, again, under Top Rank for a long time, been told what to say, what not to say. Now he's done being told what not to say, what not to say, or what to say, and he's just letting loose.
he's having a good old time, but I'm just sick of it. But I mean, at the end of the day, man, like, I like Shakur, man. I've said this before. I think Shakur can, and I still stand by this. Shakur can beat Tank. Everyone who's disrespecting Shakur after this is like, you're gonna find out. You're gonna be very, very surprised if he wins, because I'm telling you now, he has the tools to do it. People was like, he doesn't have enough power. Tank will be able to walk him down, brother. We've already seen that Shakur can be on his back foot for 30 minutes. What makes you think he can't do that versus Tank? He will. He very well will be on his bicycle. He will use his legs the entire fight. He's not going to stand there. He's not going to be vulnerable to the body shots just like Frank was and get his legs turned into cement. He will continue to be on his bicycle, and he can very well outpoint this man for 30 minutes if he genuinely wanted to. It's not going to be easy. It's only split seconds with Tank, but he can do it.
Yeah. It's going to be a competitive fight either way if it ever happens, right? I mean,
Oh, it's happening.
we're going to talk about this for, every other episode for 2 years. It may happen, right? So, overall, but I think with Shakur, the Twitterson, it's just part of the persona now. He's just going to go with it, and I think he's just going to build a following off of it. Whether you love him or hate him, he's going to just be himself.
Hey, man, I'm cool people turning into the villain, man. I would just make one video, though. Personally, if I was a villain, I would just make one video, or I would just go smack at one person or maybe two people and let them know about that life. I would literally just make a video and just say, y'all shut up, this, that, a third, call it a day, and then move on. Then enjoy my life, enjoy my money, and then get back to training. I ain't about to be messaging y'all fools for 2 weeks, man. And Shakur, yes, he's Generation Z, but he's like on the fringe. of Generation Z. He's almost a millennial. So I don't want to hear that young mess. He's almost 30. He's a few years away from being 30. He need to grow up. So yeah. That's how we feel, man. Obviously we went long on this one. We got some more content coming up. It's gonna be a lot bit more consistent. But once, as always, man, follow us on social media. Follow me at Papa Showtime, Josh Showtime, and follow our page. Once again, it's gonna be listed below. Josh, where can they find you at?
You can find me at First Class Vias on Twitter, but really find us at Josh's Fight Forum, at Josh's Fight Forum. We've been, to Josh's point earlier in the show, we're extremely active on that now. So would love to see the followers go up. Also, the engagement goes up because we definitely are engaging with all and any Twitter pages out there. We've gotten some really cool follows from some really big podcasts out there. So appreciate the love from you all. If you know, you know. And appreciate anyone who follows us after seeing this message. So thanks so much, y'all.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you guys, man. As always, make sure I stay blessed.